I used to be so incredibly good at blaming other people for the reason that I had binged. Well, if my mom didn't bake those brownies, I wouldn't have binged. Well, if my husband didn't invite me over for dinner, then I wouldn't have eaten until I was so full and then came home and finished the rest of the brownies. Well, if my mom didn't bring chocolate chip banana bread over, I wouldn't have binged. And I was always really good at beating myself up, judging myself, shaming myself. I've always done that. But what I actually recognized is I was blaming other people for the reason I was out of control with food. I was blaming other people that it was my mom's fault. If she didn't bake those cookies, I wouldn't have binged. As if it was like never my fault. And not in like a judgmental way, but let's be honest, if my mom didn't bake brownies, I would have still had cookies. If my mom didn't bring over cookies, I probably would have binged on something else. And I had to get so honest with myself. I recognized, wait a minute, you're blaming other people, but hold on. My husband doesn't binge on the cookies when my mom brings cookies over. But my sister doesn't overeat. But my dad doesn't overeat. There's something that I am struggling with, and that is the reason I am binging and spiraling out of control. It's actually not about my mom baking the cookies. It's not about my mom bringing over dessert. I am the one who's struggling, who has a negative association. I am the one that is putting these sweets on a pedestal, that's fearing them, that is trying to avoid them, and that is the reason I'm binging on them. And so I had to take responsibility, and I had to look at myself in the eyes and be like, Lorna, you need to take responsibility for this, and you need to make peace with this food. It is actually really easy to blame other people. It's so easy. It's so easy because you kind of like let yourself off the hook a little bit, right? You're like, okay, well, I'm still going to blame myself, but it was all my mom's fault. Well, it was all my husband's fault. And I was just like, something needs to change. So what I started to do was, I'm going to use these chocolate almond butter bars example. I've talked about these before. These are like my mom's like famous treats that she bakes. It's literally just like dark chocolate and almond butter, and I don't know what else she adds in there, probably like maple syrup and things like that. And these were a massive trigger binge food for me in 2019 when I actually lived with my family. And every single night, I'm not even kidding you, every single night after I would get home from training clients, I was a personal trainer, I was a health coach, I would come home and I would eat like 7 of them right before bed, and my stomach would hurt so badly. Like I'd be in so much pain. I couldn't even sleep. I was tossing and turning, and I'm a good sleeper. Like I could sleep. I could not sleep, and I was tossing and turning. I'd be sweating at night, and then I would wake up in the morning and I would literally still be full from how many of those chocolate almond butter bars I ate last night. I wouldn't even do my workout the next morning. My leggings would be so tight on my body. Anyways, what I did was I said, okay, instead of just eating them in secret or only eating them when I got home from work, I'm going to do something different. I am going to bring these scary chocolate almond butter bars with me to work to have them during the day. That was the most scariest thing ever. It felt so wrong. It felt so backwards. Like, Lorna, you can't do that. You want to eat healthy. Lorna, you can't do that because you're automatically going to binge. Lorna, you can't do that because you're already uncomfortable in your own skin and then you're allowing yourself to eat these chocolates. You can't do that. And I didn't listen to that voice. I listened to the version of me that knew I needed to do things differently. I listened to the version of myself that knew like I needed to take responsibility over the fact that I didn't trust myself around this food. And I didn't want to continue blaming my mom or tell her that she couldn't bake and enjoy these treats because I had a problem. I didn't want that. So it was so scary allowing myself to, first of all, allow myself to eat these sweets, but also during the day. It was so scary. And the first few times that I brought these chocolate almond butter bars to work, I swear to God, I'd get to work at like 7 a.m. or I would get there at 6 a.m. I would train some clients and then I would eat them like right at 7 a.m. And I was like, see, I have no control. I can't trust myself. This is why I shouldn't be bringing them with me to work. And I didn't listen to that voice. And I kept trying and I kept trying and I kept trying. And eventually, what ended up happening was I would get home at the end of the day, I'd unpack my lunch bag, and the almond butter bars would be there. Why did this happen? Because I no longer feared them. There's something that happens when you just allow yourself to eat them. It doesn't feel like you're doing something rebellious. And look, the first few days, I literally ate them the moment that I had the opportunity. 7 a.m. They'd be gone. I did that for like a few weeks. And then I was like, okay, I'm allowed to have them. Like, do I actually want them? Honestly, I don't feel like it today. I never thought that I would ever get to that point, but it was because I was willing to lean into the fear, lean into the discomfort, do things differently, and also take responsibility for why I lack trust around that food. Instead of blaming my mom, oh, you're the reason that I binged because you baked these sweets. Instead of punishing my family and telling my mom she wasn't allowed to bake because I had no control, I took responsibility. And that's hard. It's hard. It's not easy. But because of that, now my mom can bring sweets over and I actually get excited. So actually just this past Monday, my parents come over to watch my son a few days per week, and my mom had brought these chocolate almond butter bars, the past trigger food, and I haven't had these in probably, I would say, like 2 years because actually my mom stopped baking them. I don't know why. And I didn't even remember because I've just been enjoying so many other foods. Like she's been making like blueberry pies and these like everything cookies. So I completely actually forgot about these chocolate almond butter bars. And that's what happens when you heal your relationship with food. It's like you literally forget about some of the foods you used to binge on. It's like I couldn't even remember that I haven't had them. And so it's been a hot minute, and my mom brought them over on Monday, and I was so excited. Instead of getting pissed at her, why are you bringing these sweets over to my house? I have no control. I actually got so excited. And on Monday, I didn't want them. I didn't even feel like them. Tuesday came around. You bet your bottom butt I had them, but I had two with some watermelon that my mom brought and some cashews, and I felt so satisfied. And then I went off to a yoga class, came home, and I had my dinner. This would not have happened if I didn't take responsibility for the fact that I didn't have control over these foods. It is easy to blame other people, your partner. Well, if my partner didn't bring home the cheesecake, I wouldn't have spiraled out of control. Well, if my coworkers stopped ordering food every single week, or why did my boss have to order us pizza? Like, I'm grateful, like, thank you, but also, like, why did you have to order us pizza? It's so easy to blame other people when you don't trust yourself. But when you trust yourself and you take responsibility and say, wait, it's actually not about the fact that my mom baked this for me or my boss ordered pizza. I am struggling with trusting myself around these foods, and I have the power to heal. I have the power to make peace with these foods so that they no longer become triggering. And that's what I did. And I'm so grateful because, again, this week on Monday, my mom brought these chocolate almond butter bars, and I just got so excited, and I don't get pissed off at my mom anymore. And it's the greatest thing. Somebody said here, somebody from TikTok says that with binge eating, it's better to cut sugar foods out. Well, absolutely not, because that is a short-term fix. It doesn't actually fix the fact that you're out of control with that food. And I tried the avoidance method. I tried so hard to use willpower and discipline and not go into the kitchen and not even bother starting to have anything sweet because I didn't want to spiral out of control. And that made me think about those chocolate almond butter bars all day. I would have these strong urges, and eventually I'd have like 25 of them. So it's never a solution. Avoidance is not freedom. Avoidance is you're in a prison, you're in your head overthinking, thinking about food so much more. And again, it doesn't actually figure out like why you're out of control. And there's going to be birthdays, social events, holidays. There's going to be weddings. What are you going to do then? Try to avoid it? Well, we can't necessarily avoid it. There's going to be other foods around. And so for me, what I wanted is I wanted to be around any food at an all-inclusive resort, or I wanted to be at a social event with everything, all my favorite foods around, and be in control. And because I made peace with those trigger foods, now I barely eat them. And that's what I wanted. Like, I have a sweet tooth. I want to be able to enjoy my sweets. Like, I have a sweet tooth, but I didn't want to be eating them like crazy, and I didn't want to be eating them every single day. And the ironic part that people don't really understand, people think if I allow myself to have the chocolate, I'm going to gain a bunch of weight, I'm going to lose control, and I'm just going to want it all the time. The opposite actually happens. You lose interest in that food, and you have it less often. Just one of my clients, she used to have ice cream, like with her creamy ice cream maker, and she would have it every single night when her kids went to bed. It was her binge time, her ritual. Kids are in bed. This is time for me, and she would always have the creamy ice cream. And I just talked to her yesterday on a coaching call, and she's like, I haven't even had it in 2 weeks, and I wasn't even really craving it. Like, I kind of even forgot about it. Then she had it the night before. I think it was the night before. She had it, and it was like this enjoyable experience. Her husband and her were watching Love is Blind, and it was like this beautiful experience because she allowed herself to have it. It was no longer triggering. And so now she's having the exact same food, but the experience of it is completely different because she made peace with that food. If she didn't allow herself to actually enjoy it, again, she wouldn't be eating it in front of her husband. Her husband would go to bed, her kids would go to bed, and she'd be downstairs binging on it, like in secret. So I didn't want to be on high alert. I didn't want to be like, oh my God, am I going to binge? What's going to be there? I didn't want to always have to like control my environment where, you know, if I wasn't on vacation or if I wasn't at social events, I'd have control. And then if I went on vacation or I went to a birthday party, I would just lose control. I didn't want that. It was like this exhausting cycle. And so I made peace with all these foods. And now, like, I barely eat any of the foods that I used to eat. Like, I eat way healthier, and I've always enjoyed eating healthy, but I don't feel any urge around any of the treats, any of the sweets that I used to binge on. So I always say avoidance is not freedom. Avoidance is like a prison. It's jail. It keeps you trapped just thinking about food so much more. So wanted to share this with you because this just happened to me this weekend when my mom brought in these chocolate almond butter bars. And I actually think I'm going to go downstairs and have some because that actually sounds really good right now. And again, in a calm, controlled way. My husband's downstairs. I'm probably going to ask him if he wants to enjoy some with me. And food just gets to be enjoyable, not this scary secret thing. It gets to be enjoyable, not in the food is the most pleasurable thing in my life, but it actually gets to be this fun experience. So take responsibility, and not in a blame yourself type of way, what's wrong with you, but take responsibility over the fact that maybe there are certain foods that you don't trust yourself around. That doesn't mean you have to blame your partner or blame a parent or blame a coworker. You have to take responsibility, and that's the most loving thing you can do for yourself. It will change your life. So thank you for being here. Have an amazing rest of your day, you guys. And we will see you guys soon.